The Golden Gate Bridge, perhaps the most recognizable landmark in San Francisco. Tourists come from all over to see it. Over 100,000 people cross it every day. It is also the #1 suicide location in the world. Since its conception 70 years ago, over 1,500 people have jumped from this bridge. In September of 2000, Kevin Hines was one of those people.
I was very sick from bipolar disorder, and I wanted to die.
At 19 and suffering from depression since he was 16, Kevin was on medications and troubled.
I just truly believed in my head that I was a really bad guy, and I needed to go away from everybody. I was actually elated. I was happy that, I'm going to end the pain because I'm going to jump and no one can stop me, and it'll be the end of all the pain.
After a sleepless night, Kevin decided to end it all. His father, well aware of Kevin's mood swings, tried to connect with him.
My dad came in and said, "Why don't I take you to work with me? I'm a little worried about you." I said, "No, Dad, it's cool. I'm just gonna go to school and come back on my own." And he said, "No." I said, "All right, tell you what, Dad. Why don't you drive me to school, and I'll take the bus home. And he goes, "Okay, we'll do that." And he kind of bought that I was okay.
But Kevin wasn't okay. His father hadn't realized that Kevin planned to take his own life.
And I finished off the suicide note in there, signed it, put the telephone numbers of my parents on there in case they found my body and they needed to call somebody.
Kevin stood on the bridge for 40 minutes, trying to convince himself not to jump. But a chance encounter with the tourist sealed his fate.
A woman approached me, and I was crying, so I thought she was going to ask me if I was okay. But she said, "Will you take my picture next to the bridge?" So I did. Took a picture, and the camera back, she walked away. I thought, okay, nobody cares. I'm gonna jump. Turned back, looked at the traffic, took a 2-step leap, hurtled over the bridge.
As soon as his feet left the bridge, Kevin realized he'd made a mistake.
It was like that. I realized I was going to die, and I said, "I don't want to die. Why did I do this?" And so the only way I can possibly live from this, I think, is if I get feet first. I managed to turn my body around in midair. I got feet first.
Hurtling 75 miles per hour, Kevin hit the water. A force so great that most jumpers die on impact. A jumper can lose a limb, bleed to death internally, or break a neck.
It's a terrible way to die. It's a terrible way to die. And I thought it was the easiest way to die. I was blessed enough to hit the water, go under about 50 feet, fully conscious. I swam to the surface. I tried to swim to a buoy, and I'm stuck in the same place, swimming nowhere, because there's about 6 currents that are going at once. I was in the water for about 10 minutes when the Coast Guard pulled me out. And they were amazed because they said, "Do you know what you just did?" And I said, "Yeah, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge." And they said, "Why?" I said, "I wanted to die."
The Golden Gate Bridge is the brainchild of Chief Engineer Joseph Strauss. The construction took 4 years and cost only $27 million to build. In May 1937, the city celebrated its opening with a Pedestrian Day Festival. Hundreds rushed to be the first to cross the bridge, and police led a motorcade that signaled the start of vehicle passage. 3 months later, the bridge would have its first suicide.
The railing was built about 1.5 feet lower than it was originally designed to be built. So it's very easy for people to get over.
Eve Meyer is the executive director of San Francisco Suicide Prevention.
For about 40 years, our agency has been trying to get a barrier put up on the Golden Gate Bridge.
But their efforts failed and people continue to jump.
So people are going over that railing like crazy, And the question is, how can you make it safe?
I remember that they told my father I had a 50-50 chance of living that night. So he slept in the hospital right next to me in a cot. And when he came in, he looked at me and he says, "Kev," and I go, "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And he said, "No, I'm sorry." I said, "I love you." And he goes, "I know."
With 1,500 jumpers, Kevin is one out of 26 lucky enough to survive.
You know, I hurt a lot of people that day. You know, let's exclude myself, but I hurt a lot of people.
For decades, the Bridge Board resisted calls to build a suicide barrier. But on February 25, 2005, after pleas from family members of suicide victims, the Bridge Committee took the first steps toward approving a barrier. Today, Kevin is 24 and a sophomore at City College. He gives lectures and teaches others about suicide prevention.
Suicide is not the answer. Suicide prevention is the answer.
He still struggles with his disorder. He still gets depressed. But now he takes the time to reflect on his second chance at life.
I'm working hard to have some regularity, whatever that means. And I'm also working hard to have great relationships with my family and my friends. It's very key to me, very important. I know where I want to go, and I know how to get there, and I'm going to get there. So I'm excited for what the future holds for me. Yeah.